Sometimes I talk to other professors and they talk about how that they are just really happy with what they actually do in the profession. I'm going to tell you this right now that it's often not the case for me. The reality is that it's an extraordinarily lonely journey. And every day, and I'm telling you the truth of this, and if people don't want to understand that every day it's an active choice where I decide it's not to decide to like, hey, this is really exciting, I'm gonna keep going. It's do I quit? Um, and it's an active choice of saying, well, if I quit now, then what? Right? And I'm always thinking about this. I think there's like two for me. And I'm just gonna so one of the things I really wrestle with is when you actually work with real data and you look at the real world, you never get results that are often, you know, published and what people present and all this sort of beautiful stuff. I am highly skeptical at this moment of the whole profession and how it actually plays out and what it looks like. Because often you just can't present that stuff. And I think the people that excel in it, they never work with data. They just don't. And so they don't understand everything that you go through. Or they're okay with just simply saying, well, this is the game and it's about presenting beautiful things. And I struggle with that inside. It's one of the deepest things I really struggle with because I am so one of the things that if you're good with data, I was like trained as an engineer and that was always my track was to actually look at the real world. You realize the real world is really incredibly messy. And in fact, I think that's where most people kind of give up is when they realize that the people that are very almost flippant with it and they simply just don't really care, right? Like they often excel a lot. Um, and I'm really not trying to like downplay it because that's a skill, right? Like I think that that is a developed skill to accept that, but I am always wrestled with it because I know how often you kind of go down a path for a long time and you do all of this beautiful work and you get a nice answer, but it's not what the scientific review process wants. And so you have to abandon all of that work, um, even though it's correct, even though you did everything right, but it's not presenting it in the way that the scientific review actually wants it to be in. And you have to be okay with dealing with that. And it's a very, very lonely, lonely journey. Um, at least for me, there was moments where it was really somewhat exciting in the sense that that there was somebody there that I could be part of the journey was there. But for vast majorities of it now, I realize that that doesn't exist. Right? I think that is more the norm, where that's just not what people do to be part of the process, to make it fun, to make it exciting, to actually do really good stuff. I realize that that's not the profession, right? The profession is somewhat, I'm saying this flippantly, right? Like I'm saying this in a cavalier way, so please don't take this out of context. But you have to somewhat deceive the review process to get things through in such a way that, if you say too much, and this is the thing that I struggle with because I know I analyze data so much, and you can analyze data until the cows come home and all the answers line up, but if it's not perfect, if it doesn't, if it's not absolutely perfect, I mean perfect, after you've done years of data analysis, and people just reject it. And here's the thing that's even more frustrating. If it's too perfect in the sense that you've done everything right, then people simply just reject it and say, well, it's too perfect, right? It's this really peculiar, difficult thing to deal with where you have to be both, like, you have to be imperfect in such a way that the review process doesn't discredit it. And here's the thing that's even more frustrating is you often don't know what they're going to pick up on. And at least for me, I've gone through so many rejections with it that I no longer I have a distrust of the review process. I know that's a really strong thing to say, but I've been through it so many times now that I know that often, if you get if you get a very astute person and if they are helpful, then it could make a big difference and really change things. But that is a very difficult set of getting to with the review process. For those of you who don't know and understand it, you do research, you send it off to what's called blind review, and the blind review could be anybody. And I often, it could be just absolutely anybody, and you don't know who it actually is. And there's many people that are extraordinarily helpful and do an amazing job, and other people not so much. Um, and so it's just a real grab bag, it's just absolutely a random chance in what you get. And if it's not perfect, I, if it's not perfect in the right way, um, you just have no chance. And, I've done this for so many years now. I'm just like, it's every day. It's this question of, should I quit? And the answer is, I don't know. Um, and I think I'm just kind of waiting it out to the end of, I guess, till the moment that I could retire. And I think that's ultimately the whole journey. All right. Take care. Have a wonderful day.